It's only been 8 years of A-series tabs, but Samsung may finally be onto something. It's a tale as old as time. Samsung churning out cheap, low-budget tablets that just end up as e-waste due to chronically weak chipsets. But surprisingly, that's not the story here, as the Tab A9 Plus is the first A-series tablet where I haven't had to drastically mould my usage around it. I no longer feel punished if I want to alternate my doom scrolling between Chrome, Discord or Reddit. And surprisingly, I could even throw some games in there. Yeah, it doesn't respond as quickly as your phone, or an S-series tablet of course. But how often do you really need to rapidly change apps? Sticking to a task on the big 11-inch display, either reading or videos, was just easy. It is a plain looking TFT LCD with average viewing angles though. Kinda expected for the A-series, but it can get to 570 nits, and it does run at 90 Hz. Now that's huge. It's actually amazing how much of a difference this makes. But it really goes the absolute distance to making movement and scrolling feel much smoother. The big display is the entire reason you aren't just using your phone, and now it doesn't feel as slow or janky as budget tabs of the past. The other great improvement is the chipset, available in either 4 or 8GB flavours, depending how much storage you opt for. Nice and simple stuff. All powered by the relatively modern Snapdragon 695 and Adreno 619. These are decent mid-range products, not bargain basement junk like previous A-series tabs. It's this that allows for that extra grunt, letting you flip between apps, scroll through documents, watch your favourite TV shows, and play some casual games. And that's all on the budget 4GB version I have here. I'd probably recommend opting for the higher storage spec if you want to play some bigger games though, as while they may run at some stage, it might surprise you how quickly 64GB of storage disappears. It is still a budget device though, and not an S-Tab, so no S Pen usage here. But interestingly, it does have DeX. And to make the use of DeX, we also have pogo pins, for what I assume might be for a keyboard attachment one day, as I've yet to find anything that can use them yet. But there are plenty of cheap Bluetooth keyboards around to get typing done in a pinch, though I still prefer a Chrome OS device over Android if a keyboard is attached for too long. That software version is still the older Android 13. A little annoying since this tab launched a few weeks after Android 14 appeared, putting it immediately behind, but more importantly, forcing it to eat into one of its limited major OS updates. The details of these updates are a bit hazy too, without solid confirmation from my searches, but the expectation appears to be 2 OS updates, with a third being likely, on top of 4 years of security updates, with Android 14 already rolling out in some regions. The overall experience of that software has been solid though. Of course, the usual unoptimized social media apps are as miserable as always, but apps that make use of the full screen are excellent, and I had no general performance issues with any. I only really came across a bit of extra load time on especially long threads, when scrolling a bit too hard and fast, but it was infrequent. The dock is always the software feature I appreciate most when it comes to tablets, making the jumps between frequent apps much smoother, especially as the multitasking gestures are a bit slow to react here. It does make the sidebar feel a bit redundant and in the way though, but there's nothing wrong with more options. Rounding it all out is the hardware. The overall frame is consistent with Samsung's other budget offerings. Simple and efficient, but possibly feeling more refined, as I haven't had any issues with odd edges or sharp joins like in previous devices. We get 4 speakers, so you're never without no matter how you hold it. They can get decently loud, but quality drops off pretty quick as you'd expect. They're kinda just satisfactory. That can all be bypassed with headphones anyway, and the inclusion of the ancient relic known as the headphone jack. We also get a selfie camera in the correct landscape position, so video calls aren't weird, and it works well enough with Face Unlock to make things convenient if you need to keep your device mildly locked down. So they did it. They finally did it. This is actually a really solid budget tab that shouldn't end up embedded in a wall after some rage-inducing slowness. Yeah, you could go up a few price brackets for an OLED display, more graphical grunt, multitasking magic, or the S Pen. But if you don't need any of that, this A-series tab might finally make for a decent entry point for the casual scrollers out there.